Salute, salute, salute. First of all, before I start this, RIP to James Earl Jones. This man did so much in his lifetime. He lived a full life. He created a path for black men, showed them they didn't have to play stereotypical parts in movies. They didn't have to adhere to the stereotypes. Showed them how to be classy. Showed them how to move. Very distinguished gentleman. You know, he's one of the only few members, only few performers that have the EGOT award. The Emmy, the Grammy, the Oscar, and the Tony. He meant so much, starred in so many of our favorite movies as a child, as kids, and he's the GOAT to the GOATs. Denzel Washington said that when he used to watch movies, he used to look at him and say, I wish I was him. I want to grow up to be like him. You hear this from a lot of, actors, performers who, in their own right, are GOATs. But he is the GOAT, James Earl Jones. And the thing is, and shout out to the brothers in the Patreon. Salute to the brothers, man. The brothers really support. They support the movement. This is a movement. They support the message. The brothers really support. Shout out to the brothers in the Patreon. All y'all in there. I appreciate the support. I appreciate brothers, banding together when they see something and don't like it because just because they don't like the truth and they can't stand to hear what it is that black men have been going through and don't care about it. Therefore, black men decided to say, we don't care neither. So, salute to the brothers in the Patreon. And in the video, what I showed y'all was Keisha's celebrating, happy that James Earl Jones passed just because he made a video, and I got the video on the Patreon. I made a video for the Patreon about what he said. He said that, he was asked about Keisha's, and he said, they're uptight. They're uptight. They got attitudes, and he gave him an out, which I didn't agree with. But just because I didn't agree with him giving him an out doesn't mean I don't admire the man. He gave him an out, said they this way because this, they this way because of history. He gave them an out. The same out that Keisha always asks for when it comes to the reason why they act the way they do. He gave them the same out that they give themselves, and they still was upset. Still was upset. And they were only upset because he was married to two Beckys that was also performers. Julian Marie and Cecilia Hart. And they were really mad because they weren't dumpster fires. She said, if you look in the video, shout out to the brothers in the Patreon. If you've seen a video, in the video, he's in there explaining, and she's sitting there waiting. She's sitting there not interjecting, not cutting him off. It's being supportive. And then they asked her, hey, what do you think? He was like, she said that she get hostile looks from them. And then she even gave him an out. Says she understand the reason for their hostility. But think about it. He lived to be 93 years old. 93. You know why he got to be able to live 93 years old, a peaceful life, because he wasn't married to any one of you Keishas. Boom. That's why. Yes, the stats is out already. The statistics is out. Black men don't live that long being married to Keisha. Well, they don't live long as their counterparts. They don't live longer than other, people. They just don't. Being with Keisha, you just don't live as long. You know why? Because of stress. High blood pressure. Frustration. I'm under the assumption that KS would have still been alive if he would have just stayed doing, cologne videos and what boots to wear and what eyewears. And, if he would have stayed with the fragrance material, the content, he would have still been alive. But waking up every day trying to help people that don't want help, they just don't like the message, being frustrated, towards the end you could tell it started getting to him. And once he passed, Keisha was celebrating. That we're never going to forget that, Keisha. You celebrating his demise, a man that never did anything to you. We're never going to forget that. You had nothing to say with Don Imus called you nappy-headed 304s on national television. When he passed, there was nothing. It was crickets. But a man that didn't do anything to you, you celebrated his demise. We're not going to forget that. Well, without further ado, let me get to this story. This Keisha right here, name is Kayla. She's on some reality show, some reality TV show. And I want you to understand, she waited for 13 years for some Pookie to come home from prison. $13 years. She was 19 when he got locked up. 19. Instead of her moving on with her life, looking at the type of dudes that she was into and saying, hey, this is not a good look, she waited for him. And when I mean waited for him, she waited for him for the serious relationship. She was still getting taken on tizzy tours, but she wasn't taking these guys serious. She was taking this guy serious. She waited for him. She came home. When he came home, she was 32 going on 33. So it's actually 13 years going into 14 years when he came home. But she said 13. When this guy came home, all he did was disregard her, disrespected her. Oh, I got the video. I'm post before I post this to YouTube. I'm posting that video to the Patreon. So to the brothers in the Patreon, you already saw it by the time you see this video. All he did was disrespect her, disregarded her, didn't care about anything she had going on, started arguments over small things. And you know what I say to that? Good for you. And you know the reason what people were saying, the reason why he was doing this? Black man, I want you to know this. I need you to hear this part. You know what they were saying? And it's true, though. That's the thing. It's true. Everybody that was commenting on the video, you know what they were saying? The reason why he's acting like that, because he knows that he has endless amount of women that's going to be chasing him down soon as they realize he's home from prison. He has unlimited options as a person who just came home from doing 13 years in prison. He has more options with women than a man coming home from college after doing 4 years, maybe 6. He has more options than that man. That's the way it is in that rat community. This is the guy right here. This is the guy right here. His name is Martell. Her name is Kayla. His name is Martell. "13 years and he has more options than a man coming home from college, worked hard to become something." Or maybe not even that. Maybe a man just coming home, getting a certificate, a trade. All the hardworking men, they don't get nearly as much play as dudes coming home from prison. And you have the lames, they're the real lames, black men, who tell you you shouldn't have an issue with this. You shouldn't say anything. They'll tell you that you're jealous of Pookie. They'll tell you that you're jealous of Pookie. No, why would you be jealous of somebody who has nothing going on? Why would you be jealous of somebody who is on parole, probation? Why would you be jealous of that guy? You're being told by the state to do everything, almost to the point where you can't go outside. You got to use the bathroom. You can't go out of state. You can't hang out with certain people. If you hang out with certain people, you know, you might end up getting sent back to prison. You can't get approached by police. You got to report it back to your parole officer. Your parole officer gets to pull up anytime they feel like it to your house to inspect your house. They don't need a warrant or nothing. You still belong to the state. Who is jealous of that? Who's jealous of that? Who's jealous of you going for a job or a career that you want and it stopped dead in its tracks because of your background? Who's jealous of that? Nobody's jealous of that. No. Who's jealous of you got to go to a parole office and you got to go in the bathroom and submit urine? What? To see if you've been drinking or smoking? You kidding me? Who's jealous of that? Nobody is jealous of these Pookies at all, man. They got it hard. They, in every area of their life, they're struggling except when it comes to women. And when I mean women, I'm talking about Keisha. Keisha. As a collective, this is what Keisha does. This is what they do. They chase after these type of guys. You don't see Becky as a collective. You may see some Beckys here and there, some Marias. You don't see them as a collective chasing after jailbirds. You don't see them as a collective. They understand there's nothing there. They looking out for their future. Keisha's just looking out for the sack. She want to get taken on the Tizzy tour. When you look at these episodes with these Keishas, with the, Love After Lockup, I think that's the show. When you look at these Keishas, right? The only thing they're really talking about is getting taken on the Tizzy tour. The only thing I could say, because I don't know much, but I know this about her. The only thing I could say, at least she don't have any children. You know how many of those Love and Lockup episodes where those Keishas had children, bringing their daughters and sons to prison to see these Pookies? Oh, yeah, I'm going to be doing a lot of those videos in the Patreon. We got a lot of brothers there now. I'm going to be doing a lot of those videos. I'm dropping videos, twice a day now. It's on in there. I'm still be on YouTube here and there, but not as much as I was. I'll be a lot on Patreon. But this is what happens. So, dudes are not, black men are not jealous of that. They look at it and say, you know what, Pookie, you can have Keisha. We don't care. We don't care about Keisha anymore. You can have her. We're going after Becky, Maria, and we're going overseas. That's what black men are saying. And you know what? By doing that, they are lengthening their lifespan. They're lengthening their lifespan. You don't want to end up, and I hate to say this, you don't want to end up like KS talking to these Keishas day after day after day. He was too young, man. He was too young to go. But all he did was talk to these Keishas all day, trying to help them, trying to get them aligned with black men. That's everything. A lot of stuff he said was spot on, but that was one of the things that I disagree with him, trying to get Keisha aligned back with black men when they were never aligned with us at all. So I disagree with that, but look what it did. Talking to Keisha day after day. James Earl Jones knew the mission back then. And he lived to be 93. 93. Died peaceful. No stress. Beloved by everybody except Keisha just because of his preference. 2 Beckys. Nobody said anything about Maya Angelou and her 2 Brads, though, right? Right.